Hey, everybody, welcome to today's Daily Distinction. Glad you are here. Thank you for joining in. It has been a busy day. You can see behind me the logo of High Point University. I had a presentation. I've mentioned here before, I'm on the in-residence faculty at High Point University as corporate educator in residence, and they are having a series of events going on at High Point University. And today, Mark Randolph, the co-founder of Netflix, and Byron Pitts, who you know from ABC TV, is the anchor of Nightline, and I have all been contributing today at High Point University and a program that they've got going on. So I just got finished speaking to a group at HPU, and it got me thinking about today's conference. By the way, before that, I've already had a keynote presentation today, virtual keynote, to a group of wealth management advisors. We had over 100 on the call from all over the country that are talking about the challenges in wealth management and what's going on in a hyper competitive business when you have the COVID going on. Holy cow, Ted, you're kidding me. I did not know that. I hadn't checked the weather in the Midwest yet. I didn't see that. Are you kidding me? You got a blizzard going on in Minneapolis? Good grief, I can't even imagine. Oh, it's too soon. It's too soon for this to be going on. Mid-October, and we're already getting blizzards going on. That is crazy. Oh man. Well, how things are, and you know, it was so strange because here's all these financial advisors that we're talking to, and like I said, well over 100 of them on the call this morning, and you know, they're all working independently. They're all working out of their house, or they're all, you know, they're people or they're in an office and socially very, very different, as you know. And then I speak to the class at High Point, and they all have masks on and they're sitting socially distanced. And then some of them are participating virtually. Others are on campus, but you know, every student in the room had a mask on. So that was a little different and that was a little challenging. So it was fascinating. It was absolutely fascinating. I cannot imagine being in college, wearing a mask the whole time, and having to be distant from the other folks who were there. It's just crazy. It's what an incredible time. And speaking with students today, and it was one of the things I did was to speak for the sales class. They have a professional sales class at High Point, and I had a chance to speak with them. So that's what brought up today's program. Hey, Scott, it's always great to see you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Brian, hey, I'll join you. Join you for the guy. Yeah, I got some new frames on today. It's a little different. What these are? I'm wearing contacts, and then I've got these on as you know, blue light and I have to admit, at my age, readers. So it's about how long should we be a student? You guys are already on it, man. Donovan plans on being a student as long as he's alive, and that's exactly where we need to be. Mark, you're right there as well. Appreciate that. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that so much, Mark. Brian was at the Distinction Summit. Wow. I appreciate that, Brian. I appreciate that not only personally, but I appreciate it so much from the team, because Shelly and Tammy and Dahlia and everybody else worked so hard on it. And the fact that you benefited from it is extraordinary. I truly, truly appreciate you saying that. Bill, yes, exactly. Sales is getting its due as a professional course, is something that is being taught, and that is so, so important. I hope so. Tim, oh, well, it's kind of you to include me in that group. I appreciate that. We want to talk about that. And the question, as I posted, is, you know, how long should you be a student? And I guess it depends on one thing. Do you want to be successful? I mean, if you don't care about success, if you don't desire to get better, if you don't have a goal to live a life of significance, then I guess it's really okay, you know, to stop being a student. I mean, if you don't want things any better than what they are now, and in fact, they'll probably get worse. You know, that's one of the things. It's one of those old sayings that I've got something against. The old saying is, if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got. Heard that? If we always do what we've always done, we'll always get what we've always got. The only problem with that saying is it's not true. It's absolutely untrue. If you always do what you've always done in today's world, you're going to get less than what you've had in the past. Less. The world is too competitive. The world is changing too much. It's no longer good enough to be good enough. It's not even good enough to be great anymore. I mentioned this to the students at High Point. A recent interview with the Los Angeles Philharmonic conductor, the maestro of the LA Philharmonic. They said, because some of the top violin players had left, either through retirement or going to another symphony. And they said, how are you going to replace them? And he said, well, it's not hard. This was the quote that got me. Virtuosos are a dime a dozen. Now, in the music world, wouldn't you think that to become a virtuoso would be the ultimate? That would be the ultimate. But in fact, a lot of people are really great at what they do, at the technical aspect of it. You know, a lot of dentists are really good at dentistry. A lot of cosmetic surgeons are really good at facelifts. A lot of mechanics are really good at fixing your car. It's what we do above and beyond that that's going to determine our success. So if you don't want success, and if you don't want something better than what you have now, regardless of what you have right now, hey, stop being a student. But if we want things to improve, really, really important. Randall learned about story at the Distinction Summit. Already had a fill. Oh, love it. Love it. That is great. Brian, you're right. It's a lifetime investment if you choose it and take action. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's not even good enough to be great anymore. You know, I mean, Randall, the reason I say that is look at the companies in the book Good to Great, biggest selling business book of all time. Look at the companies that they say there are the great companies of the world. And most of them have been acquired. Some of them went bankrupt. Wasn't good enough to be great. So we've got to raise our standard. Bill, you hit the nail on the head, right? And that's part of you got it. It's part of what I want to talk about today. Is that, you know, that's part of what struck me as I was speaking to these college students, is that we have tended to think of learning and formal instruction as going hand in hand. And that's the real critical thing to talk about today. It doesn't. It doesn't. Most people want the reward without the work. Yeah, the world doesn't work that way. And Brian, I know that you're a student of this. Jim Rohn said, right, is that the world isn't based on need. You know, it's based on deserve. It's based on earn. I think so, Brian. I think distinction ought to be our destination. I think that ought to be the goal. Maybe distinct isn't enough, Bill. And there we go. That's part of why I wrote Iconic. Is distinct means you're the top of your industry. It's the top. You are the go-to in your industry. But some transcend their industry. Some go beyond their own individual industry, and they become iconic because they become such great examples. How long should you be a student? Well, let's take a look at what it becomes to be a professional. There are really three qualifications of professionalism. If we look at any profession whatsoever, there are three qualifications that must meet. Let's whatever it is. I mean, when we think of a professional, we typically think of a doctor or a lawyer, but it goes much beyond that, doesn't it? I mean, a plumber is a professional. An electrician is a professional, as opposed to a standard laborer. So what would change from, a typical standard labor into professional effort and labor? And there's really only three things that determine that. First off, is there is an advanced and accepted body of knowledge. Would you agree that a surgeon, a heart surgeon, let's pick one, a heart surgeon has an advanced body of knowledge over the general public? Absolutely. Are there things about it that are accepted within that group as being the standards? Of course. Would you accept, even if we said an electrician, would you agree that a person whose livelihood is made by being an electrician has an advanced knowledge of how that works than the average person would. Well, absolutely. I know my electrician, Todd, knows much more than I do, right? And is there an accepted body of knowledge there? Right. It's not like an electrician in Las Vegas has a different set of knowledge than an electrician in Indianapolis. There is an accepted body of knowledge in that area. Okay, so there is an advanced, more than what the average person would have, and a accepted within that industry body of knowledge. That's one thing that you would have to make something a profession. Second, compensation for your involvement and for your performance. So professionals, in one way or another, get paid, right? I mean, in the old days, like in the Olympics, that's how they determined who got in the Olympics. You had to be an amateur athlete. In other words, you didn't get paid. Now, they eliminated that because obviously in many of the socialist or communist countries, their athletes weren't members of like the NBA or NFL, but they were professional. That's what they did, even though the communist countries said that they did other things. Well, so they just eliminated that. But in the old days, you couldn't get paid as an athlete in that sport and participate in the Olympics. Amateurs are those who don't get paid. Professionals have compensation of some form or another. So for you to be involved and for you to deliver your efforts of your work, your performance, there's compensation. So that's the second one. So remember, first one is an advanced and accepted body of knowledge. The second one is compensation for your performance. But here is the third aspect of being a professional, and that's a program of continuing education. Professionals have programs of continuing education. So whether they are CEUs, continuing education units, or continuing education credits, or required courses, whatever it might be. I mean, would you want to go to a doctor that stopped learning as soon as they graduated from medical school? Not me. I mean, I don't want my doctor to be on the bleeding edge, trying things out on me. But I sure want to be on the leading edge and using the latest in terms of medical advancements and technology. I don't want my accountant filling out my taxes with the tax laws from the 1980s. You better know what they are today. So true professionals have a program of continued learning and continuing education. Charles, always glad you're here. Better late than never is exactly right, man. I'm glad you're with us today. If I knew I was any good, I wouldn't work so hard. Yeah, that's good, Brian. So there you go. It's a program of continuing education. Here's the problem. What if you're an entrepreneur and it's not required? I mean, what if you're an entrepreneur and there's no governing body like the American Bar Association or the American Medical Association? What if there's no governing body that makes you continue to learn? And the answer is the market makes you irrelevant because the marketplace decides. We talked about that Distinction Summit. The marketplace decides. Fair, unfair, right or not, the marketplace decides. And that's why, particularly for entrepreneurs, we should never stop learning. And also, as entrepreneurs, part of what we have to understand is you may have to create your own learning laboratory. It may not be mandated by a professional association or a group that we belong to. It may be something that we have to create and develop and execute on our own. So, are you willing to sit down and take the time to create and develop your own learning laboratory? Here's how you can do it. You can download and listen to great books. Got up this morning, walked 2.5 miles. Excuse me. Listen, there's a great book about James Baker. Remember James Baker? He was Secretary of State, Chief of Staff at the White House for a number of years. Fascinating book. Fascinating book. My buddy Joe Calloway recommended it to me. Now, what's that have to do with what I do? It's about leadership. It's about getting things done. It's about the art of compromise and communication. Biographies are great books on learning because they're either, as has been said, examples are warnings. Do like this person did, don't do what that idiot did. It's a great book on how do you get along with people that disagree with you, and how do you get things done when not everybody's pulling in the same direction. I listened to that for my entire walk this morning, and we'll listen to that on and on. So you can download and listen to it while you're doing other things, while you're driving. Your car can be part of your learning laboratory because you're listening to great podcasts, great things, great books while you're moving. You can download and read great books. Hey, don't get me wrong. I love holding the book in my hand. I love having the book. But you know, there are book apps on your smartphone. I mean, there's no excuse for not reading a great book because you can carry it with you 24/7. I mean, if I want to read, pick a business book, any business book. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Best book I've ever read on negotiating. Great book on negotiating. I don't have to carry that hardcover book around with me all the time because I got it right here. Matter of fact, right here, I can read it while I'm sitting waiting for something, or I can plug in a headphone and listen to it as I'm walking, or man, that's one of the great things about Audible and Amazon. You can listen to part of it on Audible, and then by the time you go to read it on your Kindle, it updates it to that specific point. Great. It's phenomenal. It's never been easier. Never in life has it been easier to get access to this incredible information. So you can download and read great books. You can carry them with you. It's all right there. Bruce, what is the regimen of self-improvement? Well, Bruce, I don't know if you're asking me to prescribe one or describe my own. I will tell you that I read self-improvement every day. And I promise you, I listen to self-improvement every day. Now, self-improvement can be something about, it doesn't have to be a self-improvement book, because I think learning about how to be better at business helps improve me as well. And I think learning about how historical figures, or like James Baker, how they managed a situation can help me learn that as well. I think it's important that it is part, when it gets to be just like eating and breathing, that's when it is so ingrained in you that it's your lifestyle. I mean, I can't imagine. Now I'm at the point in my life where I can't imagine being any different. I mean, I just constantly absorb this. The other thing I recommend that's really been great for me is that I've got some friends, Larry Winget, Joe Calloway, and Mark Sanborn, Randy Pennington. We kind of have a deal that if somebody in our group says, read this book, you don't say, really? Why? What would I like about it? Or could you describe the book? You buy the book, you read the book. So you're very careful about what you recommend, because everybody's going to read it and tell you what they think. But it also means that we are actively, constantly looking for the best so that we can recommend it to our pals. So having buddies who are supportive of you as you try to do this, I think is really, really important as well. It's hard to do it alone. And when you have people who encourage you to do that. And the other thing, we had the Distinction Summit this last weekend, but I went to a summit the weekend before that, and 2 weekends before that. And I'm part of 4 different coaching packages right now, coaching programs. So you invest in it and you take the time to do it, and you continue to learn. Mark, I love that quote. I love that quote. My wife is a crazy Miles Davis fan too. Takes a long time to sound like yourself. Yeah. A mentor of mine, Charlie Willie, used to say in his speeches, I don't want to hear a 16-year-old person sing my way. You ain't got a way yet. I think of that a lot, that it takes a long time to create your way, right? My way. And it's so important. Yeah, Ted, there's a lot of easy technology out there. once you learn how to use it, it is see what it's called Whisper Sync on Amazon, and so you can download the ebook and download the audio book, and it will automatically sync wherever you are. So if you listen to part of that book on Audible, it'll automatically advance where you are on the Kindle to where you left off, so you don't overlap. It's really great. Charles, careless drivers in the neighborhood. Yeah, and I agree with you, Charles. It is a great feeling to learn. I've got these new headphones, so I got to tell you about. They're called Sennheisers, and it's kind of the opposite of noise canceling. So you put the headphones in, but not only does you hear your book, but they also have little microphones in them, so you hear what's going on around you, even though you got the headphone in, which is really pretty cool. I like that a lot. So, hey, everybody, key for all of us, as we said, make certain that we continue to be lifetime learners. The late, great Cavett Robert, the founder of the National Speakers Association, consistently said, school is never out for the pro. We said the three standards of professionalism, the three qualifications: an advanced and accepted body of knowledge, compensation for your work, and third, a program of continuing education. So we should never stop learning, but maybe you have to create your own learning laboratory. So download and read great books, download and listen to great books, and never stop learning, because school is never out for the true professional. That's going to do it for us for today for Daily Distinction. I'm really glad you're here today. Thank you. Look forward to catching up with you again tomorrow for our next edition of Daily Distinction. We'll see you then, everybody.